So I really want to talk about this, guys. This comes at no surprise to anyone. Well, it doesn't come as a surprise to me at the very least. And that is The Acolyte. Star Wars The Acolyte, the latest Disney Plus Lucasfilm Star Wars TV series, has been canceled. It did not get renewed. No season 2 on the horizon. Multiple publications have been talking about this. I'll just briefly read this. This is from Deadline, as you guys can obviously see. So I'll read a little bit of this article, and then I'll share my thoughts on this. And I want to hear your thoughts on this, too. The story of The Acolyte will not continue, with Lucasfilm opting not to proceed with a second season of the Star Wars offshoot starring Amanda Stenberg, sources told Deadline. Word of the decision comes more than a month after the 8-episode first season of the series from creator, director, executive producer, and showrunner Leslie Headland wrapped its run on Disney+. The news is not entirely surprising. The Acolyte did okay with critics, with 78% Rotten Tomatoes, but divided Star Wars fans, which was reflected in its overall viewership. Driven by interest into the venerable space franchise, The Acolyte got off to a strong start when it launched on June 4th, 2 episodes, generating 4.8 million views on its first day. On the stream, it ranks as the biggest series premiere on Disney Plus this year. The tally rose to 11.1 million views globally after 5 days of streaming, corroborating Disney's data. The series made its debut on Nielsen's top 10, yada, yada, yada. But The Acolyte could not sustain the momentum, dropping out of the top 10 in week 3 and staying off before returning at number 10 after release of the finale. Like fellow global streamers, Netflix, Prime Videos, Disney Plus has a high viewership threshold for renewing a high-end, big-budget series that costs well above $100 million per season to make. Interviews, Headland has revealed that she had pitched her ideas for a second season, sharing her hopes for a renewal. And they go in, they talk about like some of the upcoming Star Wars projects that they got. And, you know, of course, the piece that people don't know, The Acolyte was a mystery thriller that took viewers into a galaxy of shadowy secrets and emerging dark side powers in the final days of the High Republic era. I would disagree with that, actually. And a former Padawan reunites with her Jedi Master, investigate a series of crimes, but the forces they confront are more sinister than they ever anticipated, and had various people featured in the show. Lee Jun-jae is probably best known for his role in Squid Games. Manny Jacinto, who was the standout, a ton of other stuff. So to be completely honest with you guys, I was not a fan of this show. I gave it a chance. I gave it a chance, those first couple episodes, and I thought, there's some interesting things here. Like aesthetically, I think it was kind of cool that, hey, let's explore a new era within the Star Wars universe. And I think that's great, because I don't want to always be, in the galactic a Civil War era or the prequel era or something like that, or even now like the post Return of the Jedi stuff. It's like, let's explore a new time period. I was very unfamiliar with the High Republic era. I know it's a new it's a new time period that has been introduced during the Disney Lucasfilm era. I know there's comics and books out about it. I'm not familiar. I'm more familiar with the Old Republic stuff, like Knights of the Old Republic. And so I went into this kind of like, all right, well, show me what you got. And, episode to episode, week to week, in my opinion, Chad, the series just got worse and worse and worse. Not that it didn't have its highlights. I think some of the action choreography was actually quite good. I'm not a big fan of wire work. It's a personal bias for me. There's something about it that just always looks off. It doesn't feel, it doesn't feel real because it's not. It's not very grounded because it's not. So, but some of the choreography was good, like in episode 5 and episode 8. And I think, I guess in hindsight, my favorite episode was episode 5. And that was the episode where no one was really talking to each other, because my issues with the series, and as you guys know, I did reviews for all the episodes of the show. Sometimes I doubled up for certain ones because, they released episode 1 and 2 together. But my biggest issues with the show was the writing, was the storytelling, was the dialogue, just the structure of the show in general. There was so much tell and not show in the series itself, and you had countless characters that were just changing their very identities and motivations with the flip of a coin, depending on what scene they were in. And again, this show was initially, people forget, years ago, this show was promised to be an exploration of the dark side of the Sith. It was going to present them as the very least as the main characters, as the protagonists of their own story, and it changed. It clearly changed, for who knows, a variety of reasons, the powers that be, and they They turned it into this weird mystery, YA thriller focused on these twins, which, quite frankly, that was the weakest aspect of the show because they weren't consistent with those two characters to begin with. And the best part of the show was the dark side stuff, was Manny Jacinto's character, whatever his name was. I guess the stranger or Chimere. Like, I liked him. He did a good job. But, overall, I just thought the show was a complete mess from top to bottom. Even with all the behind the scenes, stuff and changing the canon to fit whatever narrative you're telling. Like, outside of that, the Kiadi Mundi birthday of it all, and Darth Plagueis, he got his ideas from a coven of space witches. At the end of the day, the thing that wasn't working about the show is just that it wasn't written well. You had so many inconsistencies with the characters themselves. The dialogue was atrocious across the board. There was always just a new infamous line, whatever the next episode was. You even had episode 3 and episode 7? It was the same episode, reusing footage from episode 3, just something from a different perspective. It was just very frustrating. And, I found it thoroughly disappointing. And I gave it a fucking shot. Like, yes, you certainly have those people out there that are going to hate it no matter what, of course. And you're going to have those people out there that are going to love it no matter what. And, listen, I have made my frustrations of Star Wars known, but I'm going to be honest about it. I'm going to be earnest with my opinions. And if I think something is good, I'm going to say it's good. And I'll provide the reasons as to why. And if I think something is bad, I'm going to provide the reasons as to why. And I gave this show a chance, and I watched all the way through, and I ended up being very disappointed and very frustrated by it because I think there are some good ideas within the show itself. It's just, again, everything behind the scenes with the writers and the direction, they failed. They failed, and so I am not surprised that this show was not renewed. It's another failure of Lucasfilm, and really, it's just. I'm at a point now with Star Wars where I'm not even really mad. Like maybe some people thought Chris is going to come in here. It's going to be like, and this why it failed. And yeah. I'm not really that mad. It's gotten it's gotten worse. I'm apathetic. I'm apathetic towards Star Wars now. It's like, well, all right, that was bad. But I expected at this point. And so, really the only Star Wars thing that I'm looking forward to, at least in terms of narrative live action content, whether it be in the movies or the TV show, this is Andor, because Andor has proven to be one of the greatest things that Star Wars has ever produced, certainly in the modern era, certainly in the last 10 or so years, where it is inspired by Rogue One, of course, which featured the character of Cassian Andor, who I believe is one of the best characters to be introduced to modern Star Wars in quite some time, along with K2SO, his robot companion, who will most likely be featured in season 2. But what was so good about, of course, that movie, it's actually a good idea. It's like, okay, who stole the Death Star plans? And we see that story and how that plays out. And it does kind of what the opposite of the Acolyte does, where it takes away from the stories within Star Wars. It adds to it. Now it makes you want to go watch A New Hope with that in mind, where you realize those people died to get these plans, the rebellion. That's what introduces us to Luke and Leia and Han and Darth Vader. It's like, oh wow, it's more rich, and that's why even when Andor was announced, it's like, okay, well, this character, he died in that movie. All those characters died, which I thought was like a cool thing to do, to kill them off. And I was like, well, I don't know if I want to watch this show, but what the show did, it brought a sense of maturity to Star Wars I don't think we've seen, well, certainly since Rogue One, but really probably since The Empire Strikes Back. I love how so much of the show was about, okay, outside of the Jedi and the smugglers and all the big heroes and the villains, across these, different organizations, what's it like for the fucking schmucks that live under fascism in the Star Wars universe? And they presented that brilliantly through these incredibly well-written characters and these arcs that featured Cassian Andor. Whether it be the heist arc where they're trying to steal this Imperial payroll, and just the lead up to that, the building of all that, and all this relationship to the final heist, and people are dying, and it's spectacular. But the reason why, at the end of that specific arc, and really any arc, like the prison arc or the final arc of the show, the reason why those things hit so well is because they spent so much time developing and these characters and providing you with excellent world building and just giving you a good story for each of them. And that's why that show, I think, has gone on. Because initially, like, in terms of its viewership and its ratings, it wasn't very high. But, like, over time, it's now, everything is being compared to Andor. Like, no matter where you go, the latest season of The Mandalorian, whatever other Lucasfilm projects out right now, is it as good as Andor? And a lot of these things have not been. None of them have been. So, I'm at a point now of Star Wars, and I'm saying this as someone, you can see behind me, I got my Star Wars poster, I got my Raiders of the Lost Ark. Like, I'm a fan of these properties, but they've just been mistreated for so long. And I'm sad. I'm not even angry. I'm not even angry anymore. I'm just like, all right, whatever. Just move on. I think that's the worst thing that you can create as a content creator, as a film studio, is to make so much content and have it be, well, of course, not well received, but make the audiences intended for apathetic towards it. And that's what's happening for a lot of these shows. It's like, yeah, you have people that love the Acolyte. You have people that hated the Acolyte. But so few people watched it over time. The viewership continued to drop off week to week to week to week until now got canceled. And I'm not surprised at all. And it deserved to be canceled because of how poorly conceived it was, how poorly made it was, in my opinion. There are plenty of people that like it, a lot of people that don't. But for myself, I was thoroughly disappointed by this show. And they should have done better because I think the concept is interesting. Like, let's tell a Star Wars story from the perspective of the villains. And, like, what motivates them? And especially the Sith, when they're not in control of a massive galaxy-spanning empire. What if they're just, like, hiding? Like, what's that life like? That's a really cool life, and they barely tapped into that. And the show is at its best when it did. And so it's frustrating for me. But what about you guys? How do you feel about this? The Acolyte being canceled. No season 2. Let's see what you guys are saying. I am very curious indeed. Scrolling. Let's see here. No! Doing the Darth Vader, no. Because I was shocked. Lately, Disney doubled down their mistakes. Yeah, it's the thing. Well, you know what? Well, I don't know. Like, Marvel seems to be attempting to course correct right now. But, Lucasfilm just seems to, for the longest time, just like, nope, it's the audience that's wrong. But maybe finally there might be some realization. We'll see. We bring up a good point. I think for the longest time Lucasfilm has doubled down, tripled down. Vibrox, the neckbeards were sick of Maine just until stealing their imaginary waifus. He was pretty fucking hot. I did like that scene where he walks out of the water and, like, clearly his lightsaber was hanging out. His big erect lightsaber. He is a beautiful man. He's the best character in the show. He did a great job. He really did. Anytime he was on screen, I remember even seeing him in episode 2. It's like, I like this guy. And the thing I liked about him, it's not even that he was the villain. It was just like, he felt like the most real person in the show. Like, his dialogue, even before, it's like, I mean, as soon as you see him, like, I think this guy's more than what he seems. Like, obviously, just how he's reacting to certain things and what he's saying. He just had this charm. He had this charisma. It's like, I want to follow this guy. And maybe in initial, in its conceptual phase, that's what it was supposed to be. But they didn't do it. But he was the best part of the show. Hey, he at least gets to walk away with this with his head held high because I thought he did a good job, despite the things, the roadblocks in place of in front of him. Let's see. Bugs, I'm not gonna be surprised this happens to some MCU shows. Oh, we are seeing this. Well, some of them are they're just sending them out just because they've already been in some form of production for quite some time, like Agatha, the Agatha show, like the Eternals 2 was canceled. That came out recently. I'm sure there's other things. Ace Rock, despite its flaws, The Acolyte didn't deserve all the hate it got, and it could get a second season. We need shows that take us different places. I'm not against that. I'm I'm all for that. For Star Wars shows, or really, or and any of these like long running properties to go different. I have no issue with that. My issue is that if they don't do it well, which in my opinion, I don't think The Acolyte did it very well. But this is how I feel. I've accepted the fact that Star Wars isn't for me anymore. So for me, this is just another Star Wars series that just came and went, and I have no motivation to watch. Yeah, I mean, I can't really recommend it to anyone. Herman says, yeah, Big Smith, it's a friggin' disaster, and I loved it for that. Everyone's like, don't lie, you didn't like the black women's holds out hand for reparations. And there were two of them, Viper Fox. There were two of them. Well, not really. Because in the show, they explain they're technically not twins. They're actually the same person. But this is when they get into the mumbo jumbo. And I'm like, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. Yeah. Ace Rock, the worst part of the show being canceled is the most toxic part of the fandom is going to feel empowered and think that they won. I mean, they're gonna feel that way, like, no matter what. And listen, you're going to always have that segment of the franchise, or excuse me, not even fan base, but just those types of people out there that are going to like hate on it, no matter what, whether it's good or not. And the same people that just like it, whether it's bad or not, they don't care. But the way to beat the only way to truly beat those people, the only way to combat them, is to make something that's really good. That's the problem. To make something that's actually really good, that you have the grand majority of people go like, this is actually really good. And you're always going to have that. You just got to deal with that, but you got to do a better job. They just, in my opinion, this show was not well written. It had so many issues, nothing to do with canon, nothing to do with Ki-Adi Monday's birthday, or even the plagues of it all. It was just, I think, just the moment-to-moment dialogue between these characters, the fact that their personalities would change, at the drop of a hat. Like, that's the reason why the show failed, in my opinion. And the only way that you're going to be able to combat those types of critics, or not even critics, but those types of people, is to just make a really good TV show or a really good movie. That's the only way that Lucasfilm is going to be able to succeed in the future, or any studio is going to be able to succeed in the future. And you also got to think of it's like, listen, this show cost nearly $200 million. $200 million, a lot of money. It's like 180. And it's probably not even incorporating marketing into all this, which makes it even more expensive. And the quality of the show and the viewership of the show did not justify its budget. And, that's why it was canceled. It's like, why are we investing so much if no one's watching the goddamn thing? And it's getting such bad reviews. So, they 100% Biggie Smith. Yes, yeah, they should have just given Chimere his own show. I agree with you, because he's the best part of the show. I think, that's what I thought it was originally being pitched. That's what I originally was being sold. But that wasn't the case. I think if it had been about him, and maybe, I don't think Amanda Stenberg did a very good job as either character in the show. I think she was one of the weakest elements of it. But if again, you can be the most talented actor in the world, but if you give a shit script, you're getting shit script and shit direction, which she most certainly was, you're probably going to give a shit performance, which was what happened. But if she had actually gotten great material and it was about her and Chimere and this weird, dark Sith, master and apprentice and going around the galaxy, I think that would have been more interesting than what we got. This nonsense between this mystery, this murder mystery, wasn't just solved by episode 2. But yeah, Christian will celebrate today and find something to whine about tomorrow. And the only way you're going to be able to combat those people is you got to make a good show, a good movie, a good story. That's what you need to do. They're always going to complain no matter what, until they're made to look foolish. I bet you had a lot of people, a lot of those guys or gals, and whoever, were complaining about the idea of Andor, but so many people started Andor like, wow, this is actually a really goddamn good TV show. And more people liked it than did not. Same thing for the first 2 seasons of The Mandalorian. More liked it than did not. And then those people will have to concede like, all right, well, that was pretty good. That's the only way that Lucasfilm or any studio really is going to win, is that way. You can't do it even if the grifters or the people are going to hate on it, they're always in the wrong. You coming out and just saying or just making blanket terms like everyone who criticized the show is toxic or is an incel or is a racist or a sexist, a bigot. That's not going to win over new people. You know, like there's plenty of people like myself who dislike this show, not because it has a black person in it, not because it has a female lead, not because you have characters who are gay or bisexual. That doesn't affect me at all. You know, that's nothing. But Lucasfilm has to avoid, or the creators of the show have to avoid, making blanket statements that colors all people who have criticisms of this series or other shows or other movies and groups them in with that crowd who is always bringing that stuff up, because then you're going to alienate more of your fan base. It had good bones you can build upon. I don't know, man. I mean, I think it has good ideas, but by the end of it, I'm like, I don't know what you're going to do with this, because in itself, the structure is so rotten, in my opinion. Like, you'd have to take it back down to a foundation. You have to restart again. You have to take the elements that work and restart, because you're not going to be able to get away from just the overall plot line of the two sisters. And not really sisters, doesn't make any sense. You're not going to be able to escape the fact that you had, you know, what's her name? Rebecca Henderson as this, you know, it was very clearly just nepotism through and through. Leslie Headland putting her wife in there in a role that it was just awful, and her performance was just awful. You know, there's just so much inherently, I think, just wrong with the show to be in general. But there is good ideas within the show itself. I don't know how you're going to expand on it. You'd have to like literally you have to remove so many elements of the previous season to continue on. I don't see how you're going to do that, especially with the show just having such an awful reputation now. I don't know how you do it. And the viewership was just not there. It dropped off every episode. Yeah. That's all you can say. It's a shame. Man's pecs made you mad. It's okay. I mean, I did. He has an amazing body. I can't deny that. Again, he's fucking. I have no issues with him. I have no issues with his performance or what he brought to the series. He did a great job. Sure, just feels empty at this point, which is super disappointing. Yeah, it feels empty. Agreed. Outside of Andor season 2, I don't care. Like Skeleton Crew, I'm like, I'll watch it for reviews. That's it. But I have no motivation to like. I'm jazzed. Or in the case of Star Wars, I'm jizzed about it, because that's what they call jazz in Star Wars. They call music in Star Wars jizz. Those jizz players. Oh man, you can always have what you like from the past and just let the rest go. Yeah, 100%. Like, I'm never gonna not love the original trilogy. Like, I'm always gonna love those movies. I always love A New Hope, Empire, Return of the Jedi, and there's things I can pick and choose. You know, like books and like Rogue One and stuff. But I'm at a point, with Star Wars where it's just like, I don't really care anymore. I don't really care anymore. Let's see here. Acolyte did good streaming numbers though. It didn't though. Like, initially it had the highest debut for a new Disney Plus series this year, but it kept dropping off. And by the end of it, if you look at the streaming numbers compared to Mandalorian, Ahsoka, Book of Boba Fett, Andor, it was below them. It was below them by the end. Do you think there will be a giant in the last episode of Andor because Star Wars? That's a good question, Isaac. I do feel like we're going to see some more legacy characters in the show. I mean, we are. We're going to see director Kenrick. Ben Mendelsohn's coming back for the series. I don't need them to. I don't need it. Like, I know some people complain that Andor wasn't like Star Wars. That bothers me. Because it absolutely is Star Wars. It's you know what Andor is? Andor is Star Wars for grown-ups. That's what Andor is. Andor is just like, this is like an HBO version of Star Wars. That's what it is. It's like like what if David Chase or Vince Gilligan, these guys that made these shows like Sopranos or Breaking Bad, or like you pick another well-known TV series by a well-respected creator. It's like, what if they made a Star Wars show? And that's what it was. And that's what Tony Gilroy did, who was an excellent writer. who's a great filmmaker, you know, who even, he's not even a big Star Wars fan, but he knows how to write a goddamn character. He knows how to tell a story. And that's what that's what Star Wars needs more than anything right now. It doesn't need like a Star Wars fanboy like Dave Filoni. It needs a person to come in there. It's like, okay, I know how to, you know, tell a story, put in some interesting characters, put in some fascinating themes, and he just surrounds him. And then that's what Tony Gilroy does. Like, he surrounded himself with people who have knowledge about the Star Wars lore. Like, in order to make something like make sense, you're like, oh yeah, just include this. He's like, okay, I'll include this. Like, he's talked about it, and that's why his show Andor is so goddamn good, because removing the Star Wars elements of it all, you can strip all that away. It's just a goddamn good show by itself. It's arcs, it's characters, what they go through. It's an exploration of what is it like to live under fascism in a sci-fi universe, a galaxy empire, a galaxy-wide empire. That's why the show's so good. That's why I like it. And it just happens to be set in the Star Wars universe. At start, I had good numbers, but the finale had the worst. Yeah, by the end, it was bad. Didn't watch it. Gave up on stars after Rise of Skywalker. I recommend Andor to you, Mr. Ayers. Andor's pretty goddamn good. I know you're waiting for season 2 to hopefully, you know, you want to wait for that to make sure it's good. But Andor season 1 is quite good. Roman Room says good riddance. Ace Quartz says I already forgot Acolyte. As about Star Wars, Lucasfilm especially, that's fucked up, yeah. Feeling like they need to remove all the mysticism of Star Wars for a while because that feels fresh. And, yeah, no, exactly, and Andor did that. It removed all the stuff of the Jedi and the Force and shit. It's like, it's not about them. It's about the schmucks that live in the universe and how do they deal with this. And it was great. And so I agree with you. And I've said this for the longest time. The Jedi suck. And they didn't start sucking when Disney bought them. They started sucking since episode 1 of The Phantom Menace. The Jedi have sucked since then. You know, and they've never been able to fully recover. And certainly they didn't do a very good job on them in The Acolyte. I never liked the idea of the Jedi being monks. I think that was a huge mistake. Huge mistake. I like the idea of they're being knights. They have this code of honor. You know, the way in which Ben Kenobi talked about them, the way in which Luke Skywalker, we saw his arc becoming a Jedi Knight. He was a badass by the end. Then they introduce all these concepts like midichlorians and the celibacy, and we can't love, we can't have a relationship. Like, what? Well, no wonder Anakin's so fucked up and weird. You know? No wonder he can't control himself and his emotions, because he's this petulant child that can't jerk off. Can't do it. No wonder he's a psychopath and he's murdering people by the time, you know, he's like 22 years old and he becomes an asthmatic robot. He got his dick burned off. So that's what happens. That's what happens. Who's this coming in here with the kindness? Oh, Lord. Sandpaper hand. Speaking of jerking off, sandpaper hand job. Welcome. Hope you're doing very well. Good to see you. Oh, thank you for the follow. All I know about is that Emma Stenberg made a diss track that got roasted oblivion. I saw that and it was embarrassing. She was just thrusting her vagina at the camera. I'm just like, girl, this isn't working. It was pretty bad. That did not help. She was like putting it out the haters. She added fuel to the fire. She added kerosene and gasoline and anything that was flammable. Yeah, it was pretty bad. It was pretty embarrassing. I only watched like a couple of like seconds of it. I was like, oh, God damn it. Yeah, it didn't help. That didn't help. Oh. Series no one wanted. I feel like the thing is, I go back to this. I think a story about the Sith and the dark side can work. That's not what it inevitably was, though. So, did you use the Darth Bane trilogy? Disney just doesn't know what to do with Star Wars. Yeah. Yeah, well, they have the wrong people in place. That's really what it is. Like, these people just don't know what they're doing. They're throwing everything at the wall. There's no sense of consistency. There seemingly, maybe until recently, any sense of, like, oh, we're doing something wrong. But we'll see. Shell, thank you for the 100 biddies and welcome. Good to have you here. But you're right, Deadpool. They seemingly do know. They just don't know what they're doing. And Kathleen Kennedy's got to go. The whole leadership's got to. The company needs to be fucking gutted. It needs to be gutted, or not that they'll do this. It needs to be sold off, and it just needs a completely like, all right, we need to fucking have a game plan. What are we doing? And you got to bring in some competent filmmakers. Like, I'm not familiar with Leslie Headland. I know people have talked about her, and they said, like, her previous show, Russian Doll, is that what it was called, was good. I've never seen it. This is my first introduction to her, and what I'm watching, I'm just like, why did you go with this person? But that's how I feel. I never watched the show. The same. Yeah. It's not twin actors. They're played by one actress. Yeah. It's one actor playing two characters. Mm-hmm. The saber fights are good. Other than that, like again, in this is a personal bias, and I admitted this in my reviews. I don't like wire work. I just don't. It doesn't look right to me. Something's off about it always, and I just feel like it's too. There's just, I don't know, the presentation of it all. It just, I know it's supposed to be fantastical and not real. I get that, but it's a personal thing. I just don't like the way it looks. It throws me off every time. But when they're not doing the wire work, I think the choreography is quite good. I agree with you with the lightsaber scenes. Yeah, 100%. Third, good to have you here. Third, welcome. How you been? She's great in The Hate You Give, which I've never seen. So he's got me starting to think we're way past the point where I think Star Wars should have stopped. Yeah, I know, right? Oh, or you just Game of Thrones, House of Dragon, your viewers, yeah. Never played X-Men 97 before it came out and went radio. Yeah, exactly. Deadpool, I'm so behind the chat right now. So Deadpool made a great point to the point where I was talking about. The only way that you are going to be able to... the word combat's maybe not the right word to use this, but the only way you're going to be able to shut up those people who are going to hate on your stuff no matter what, who are the grifters, is you make a good product, you make a good TV show, you make a good movie. And Deadpool brought up the perfect example right now. Look at this. A lot of them were complaining about X-Men 97 before it came out and went radio silent when it was a hit. They did. All the usual suspects, they moved away because the majority, of course you're going to have the people that don't like it, but the majority were saying, this show is amazing. I was talking about how much I love the show. And, you know, whether through my reviews, our discussions on here, or my commentaries and reactions. And all those people shut the fuck up. And that's the only way that you're going to be able to beat back those people, is making something that's really good. And that it's impossible to have universal acclaim or whatever, but the majority says, this is really good. And in my opinion, The Acolyte was not that. But X-Men 97 is an example of something like that. It made people not only excited for like Marvel animation, it made people excited for the fucking X-Men again. It was must-see TV. It was trending constantly. It was making people cry. It made me cry. You know? That's how you do it. Space Cowboy, thank you so much for the 100 biddies. Chris said, not all Star Wars fans. Ironically, Andor is the wokest show Disney has put out. Straight up trades Marxist revolutionary ideologies and systematic oppression of marginalized people. There you go. It's all how you present it. It's all how you weave the story through it. And thank you, Biggie Smith, for the 100 biddies as well. All right. Let's see. Who else is here? Oh, my God. Biggie Smith, 100 biddies. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Space Cowboy Show, Biggie Smith. We got another hype train going. Thank you, guys. I really do appreciate it. I hope you guys have been enjoying the show so far. We still got a lot to cover. I still got to do my spoiler review for Alien Romulus. Still got to do Class in the Glass Cast. Going to play a little bit of Dredge tonight. But thank you. Thank you so much. Katria, that's how I feel about Harry Potter's franchise. Loved it as a kid, but the controversy of J.K. Rowling and Johnny Depp plus the bad prequel movies have turned me off. Yeah. And now they got to win people back. You know, with what they're doing the TV search. I'm not excited for that at all, but I'm kind of like morbidly curious. Like, how are you going to make this work? Let me see. I wonder. Star Wars with boobs? That sounds cool. I don't mind that at all. Oh, yeah. So, yeah, if it was an HBO Star Wars show to have boobs. It did have inner thigh. It did have a sex scene. I was like, holy shit. Or implied sex. Bishop, law of diminishing returns of Star Wars. Acolyte suffers in part from the predecessor. That's true. It definitely, yeah. Oh, yeah. It suffers from that, and it also contributes to it. And we're going to get hype in just a second, guys. I personally haven't watched anything Star Wars related since Mandalorian Season 3, which also disappointed in my opinion. Nothing that has come out recently has made me want to change that, and I'm okay with that. Yeah, no, I get it. I haven't watched Andor yet because I don't want to get invested only to get bummed how it ends. I don't need to go through the Tross experience. That's fair. I understand that. Well, we'll let you know if Andor Season 2 sticks the landing, and if it does, because it's only 2 seasons. Like Tony Gilroy said, he was like, I got my 2 seasons. There you go. It's a story we're willing to tell. So if it sticks the landing, we'll let you know. Dave Filoni filled a necessary void for when it came to the Clone Wars Rebels, Bad Batch shows, and its progeny, but perhaps it's time for a new... Yeah, they need to gut it. He needs to leave. He needs to leave. I think that's what needs to happen now. It's not working. It's not working. Biggie Smith but Andor is in Star Wars, and I'm like, why? And why? But the thing is, like, why isn't it Star Wars? Like, why is it? Because it needs to have Jedi and the Force. I'm like, I don't think Star Wars needs those things. It doesn't always need. It's not that it doesn't need those things. It doesn't always need those things. Like those, yeah, they're part of Star Wars. Of course they are. Much like bounty hunters are a part of Star Wars. Much like smugglers are part of Star Wars. Like Star Wars is. I don't like the idea. Like you have certain people who view Star Wars through a very limited space. Where they have blinders on, where Star Wars is Jedi, Star Wars is the Empire and Darth Vader, Star Wars is Anakin Skywalker, until it's so small. And Andor doesn't have Jedi or the Force and things, but expanded it nonetheless. And the thing that made it a success is that it was good. That's the only way you're going to be able to expand this shit. You got to make it good. And George Lucas ruined the idea of Jedi. I go back to that all the time. Oh, Lord. I think this other guy might be a jabroni. I've caught up to that point, yeah. Let's see here. Nothing shuts him up like success, 100%. That's the only way you're going to win. You don't go out making statements and saying, like, anyone who criticizes the show is a sexist or a racist or, I mean, anything else in between. Those people exist? Of course they do. Of course they do. But I'm going to tell you right now, the grand majority of people that criticize this show were not racist and sexist and bigoted and things like that. Okay, they weren't. They were people like me. And I'm not racist, sexist, and fixed. But there are people like me who legitimately, the issues I have with the show is, again, not because there was a black lead, not because there was a lesbian or a gay character. That wasn't it. It's because it wasn't written well. It's because you had characters that would literally change their personalities at the flip of a fucking switch within a scene itself. It's like, what are we doing? You had just atrocious dialogue. Like that's why it didn't work. And again, like the only way that you're gonna be able to change minds or negate that kind of content from those people or like that, those criticisms is to make something that's actually really goddamn good. Like X-Men 97, which proved that. And Isaac with the 5. We're going to get hyped in just a second. We try to explain the Force. It comes off sounding dumb. Yeah, it works better being vague. Yes, Rogue One kept it vague and it worked. Exactly. It is a supernatural phenomenon that can be harnessed by people who work at it, who train it. That's all you need to know about the Force. That's it. And it's like, cool. It binds us. It brings all life together. It penetrates us. And those who work really hard, and I love the idea of the Force can be learned by anybody. It can be learned by anybody, but the only way you're going to learn it is if you train, is if you actively engage in the process of trying to harness it. Right? And you saw that with Luke across the entire trilogy. He had to work fucking hard. He really did. He lost a hand, trying to master it. He went through a lot of shit. He lost his aunt and his uncle, That's what's great about it. But yeah, when you this is actually perfect because when we're gonna pivot into my Alien Romulus review. When you start to explain the backstory of something in very specific detail in fiction. I'm not saying that you shouldn't explain certain things. You should. But if you start to demystify aspects of your universe, then you reveal just how dumb and silly it is. It opens itself up for criticism and derision. And we've seen that across the board of Star Wars, especially when it comes to the Jedi and the concept of the Force. It's better left as this unknowable thing, but people can learn about it. People can harness it if they just work really hard at it. And it worked the best in the original trilogy when it was kind of left undefined. It made it special. Thank you guys for the biddies. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Space Cowboy Show, Biggie Smith, biddies to mourn the Acolyte, indeed. Yeah, Bugstaff is right. And 97 put the X-Men, I didn't think it kind of did. I think it absolutely did. It put the X-Men back in the zeitgeist, 100%. 100%. Also, apparently that Y2K movie has already been shown on South by Southwest. Its IMDb page is already showing a low rating. Damn. Comes out to the public in December. Yeah, I didn't even hear about that at South by Southwest. Take my biddies till payday. Woo! Isaac, seriously, man, thank you for the 250 biddies. That's super kind of you. Star Wars is space western, samurai, World War II, pulp sci-fi, sci-fi adventure series. Yep. That's when it's working at its best. Yeah. Mansion series based on the Gunga. This is the last thing we need right now. It was Star Wars would go back to the vibe it had in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. In the 90s, in terms of like the expanded universe books, hell fucking yeah, man. Hell fucking yeah. Like the Grand Moff Thrawn trilogy, hell yeah. That's what I want. What's my opinion on the Star Wars Goonies trailer? Kind of like, all right. It has high production values, no doubt. There's like some money spent on that thing. There's shots that look pretty goddamn good. And I love the Goonies. I love shit like the Monster Squad and Stranger Things. Like, I love those types of E.T., like, it has that vibe. But I don't know, it's just, I'm just not excited for it. I'll give it a shot. I'll give it a chance. That's the one thing I will promise. I will give it a chance, and I will provide you guys with my earnest and honest opinion. Always. And if I like it, I'll tell you if I like it. If I don't, I'm going to tell you if I don't. I don't have an alternative motive. I'm going to take it as is, and I'll let you know what I think. Chris Harris, I came up with a shitty pitch for my own Star Wars trilogy years ago. No Jedi's twisted version of the Force, and characters use lightsabers but have no Force training and are trying to survive the fight. That's actually fucking cool. I think that's a great idea. Like, yeah, you have people that maybe the idea of the Force, or it's like in a different galaxy or something, and they find these things, and then it's like, how do we use this? And they have to survive. I don't think that's a shitty idea, actually. I think that's a cool concept. You're taking it very much back to basics, I mean, by the end of it, one of them who is trying the hardest, maybe they find like these texts and they explains it, and they're like been trying. They finally like, oh shit, they're able to move something. They're able to do something in the last minute, but they earned it. They worked at it. Like, oh my god, and it proliferates. But it's a different interpretation of the Force. I don't think that's a shitty idea at all, Mr. I think that's an inspired idea. That's a cool idea. And then you can forget, and you know what's so great about that? You can forget about the midichlorians. You can forget about all the other bullshit that happened, back in the day. It's now you have this new group, this whole new universe, this whole new galaxy that gets to explore it in a very fresh way. I think that's a great idea. I don't think it's shitty at all. Isaac, thank you for the 100 biddies. Point out the Acolyte. Goodbye forever. Yeah, it's gone, baby. It's gone. Use the writer's strike excuse, Chris, and move it. I don't think they can use that strike as an excuse. It penetrates us. It does. Well, that's what they says, The power of many. Yeah, it didn't work out. The power of one and all. Like, yeah, this doesn't work. They're gyrating. You had the one in the background going, ah! Remember that episode, chat? You had the whole. I mean, you had the power of one, the power of two, the power of many. It's like, okay, that's not great, but you had the one person in that whole group that was apparently really feeling it. The edible had just kicked in, chat. Whatever those witches were on, whatever they boofed, she was really feeling it. She went, ah! Sound like Yoko Ono or whatever. I was like, ooh, the cringe was hard. I felt the cringe. Ugh. Oh, God. I think it was corny, yeah. The idea of Star Wars and like suburbs in Star Wars is weird to me. It's new, but also not new at the same time. So I was like, I don't know, Chad. Casey agreed. That's why X-Men 97 worked better at showing the respect and deeper look in the world, the content. Yeah, it was just a goddamn good show. Disney Marvel is sitting on a gold mine of the Darth Vader comic book. That would be fucking awesome. They got going right now of everything they got going. That'd be kind of cool to adapt. That'd be interesting. I would still want them just to do new stories in the universe, but you just new characters, but just again, just tell the stories well. But you are right. Like what I've read of that comic series is quite good, and you can do the dark side show, the Sith show, which is what this originally was pitched as. Deadpool, my idea for a Star Wars series to do Rogue Squadron. Yeah, Rogue Squadron would be really cool. Having Captain Wedge Antilles leading a band of Alliance pilots and commandos weeding out Imperial remnants post Return of the Jedi. Yeah, I think that's a cool idea. I think that would be really interesting. I know you had that Rogue Squadron movie from Patty Jenkins that got canceled. That got announced years ago and then quickly was shoved under the rug, swept under the rug, I should say, because you haven't heart by beat for beat. Excuse me. That's because you haven't heard my beat for beat plot ideas. That's when you're going to be like, I know you're a friend, but this must have been. This must never be seen or heard by anyone. I like your basic premise. I think your basic premise is actually very interesting. KC, my phone has been acting up, so I had to. Oh, you're good, man. You're good. I'm sorry. I probably missed a few notifications from people because we've just been going on for it. But seriously, thank you again to Chris Ayers, Isaac, Biggie Smith, Shows, Space Cowboy, everybody that was coming in there. Thank you so much, guys. It's been so cool today. I really do appreciate it. I honestly feel like they should just bite the bull and go into the far future. Oh, 100%. I agree. I think they should do that. I think the future of Star Wars is in the far future and the far past. If I had my control, like I would have done a Grand Admiral Thrawn trilogy years ago, but that's fucking over now with what they're doing with them. But I agree. I think they should go hundreds of years into the future, if not thousands of years in the future, and they should go thousands of years in the past and do KOTOR. I think that's what they should do. But I mean, at this point, not with this team, not with the apparatus that's in place, not with Kathleen Kennedy or Dave Filoni or any of these people. Again, Tony Gilroy aside, of course. Like the whole, it needs to be gutted. It needs to be gutted, and they need to put like competent. You need like some sort of talented producer or executive that just understands the property, yes, but also isn't just because the thing about Kathleen Kennedy that bothers me, like I've seen it with her. She just seems to go for the person who is like, oh, they're the hot thing right now. And we see that time and time again, like with everything that she does. Like, whether it be J.J. Abrams or like Rian Johnson or like Patty Jenkins, who was coming off of Wonder Woman, or Josh Trank, who was coming off of, Chronicle, or like Sean Levy, who was just coming off of Deadpool Wolverine. It's just the same thing over again. And all these projects just fizzle away. And they just go away forever. Like our what's his name? God damn it. Thor Ragnarok guy. I'm blanking on his name at the moment. I've been talking so goddamn long. But damn it. I forgot. You know what I'm talking about. Like that guy, And Taika Waititi, thank you so much. Taika Waititi. Where's all these movies? Where's all these shows and projects? Nowhere to be seen. Because I feel like she's just going for the whoever the hot person whose name is out there. It's like, give them a Star Wars project. What's their idea? They don't really have one. That's fine. Let's announce it anyway. As long as we have like a general premise and concept, and then nothing happens with it. They gotta get rid of her. Holy shit. Cosmic Star Wars horror would be cool. I wouldn't mind that. I wouldn't mind that at all. Chris says, okay, here's one bit of my casting of my thing that may or may not get you more excited. The leader of the bandits where spend the whole trilogy following. He's a Han Obi-Wan type hybrid. Play Bam. Sorry. Listen, I know it's like Adam Sandler. We've made a lot of bad cameos. I know Adam Sandler can be a good actor. We've seen him be like a really good Uncut Gems. Like he can fucking deliver it. A Punch Drunk Love. He can deliver it. I saw a few clips of that space movie that he made. The one with the big space spider. I know apparently got really mixed reviews, but what I saw with him, at least the dramatic stuff, he can be a dramatic actor. I think, you have like his baggage for his bad movies, but he's a good actor. So I'm not against that idea, but just don't make it a space comedy. I'm not against that. Oh Lord, I should kill off Ahsoka to troll Dave Filoni. That wouldn't ruin him. That wouldn't ruin him. It's too bad because Ahsoka's a good character, but that show wasn't good. Jack had one go for a while. Edgy Berserker, Kevin! Edgy, good to see you. Oh, Edgy, are you beside yourself with happiness over all the Fatal Fury stuff that you're seeing? They're bringing it back, Edgy. We did a trailer reaction to it earlier, and we were all saying Edgy Berserker is going to lose her mind. They're going to do that fourth film, Edgy. I think they're going to do it. I think with all this coming back, they're going to do it. I think it's happening. It looks great. Both games, well, the trailer looked great, but did you see the My trailer? Holy shit, she looks amazing. I was like, God damn, girl. Taika Waititi, yeah, thank you guys, thank you. I couldn't remember for the life of me. After Love and Thunder, no, thank you. He needs to take a break. No, he does. But he had a movie that was announced, and no one's like, well, what the hell's going on? You know, Star Wars Training are designed by committee, and it's depressing. Yeah, just going for the names that are at Disney at the moment, but they eventually just fizzle out. Yep, it's distractions. That's why I'd make sure to have him bring the dash that uncut. Oh, 100%. That'd be great. That's what you want for a rogue. That would be cool. Like if he plays a Han Solo type, but he actually is a fucking scoundrel through and through. That would be cool. I wouldn't mind that at all. Spaceman, that's what it was called. It was just Cthulhu, like Cosmic Horde and Star Wars Invader, bring some of that shit in the main universe. Yeah. Yeah, you saw my look. She looks great. I was going to like an idiot with that Terry Street Fighter 6 look. Yeah, no, it looks really good. And my looks amazing. I read some comments and people were being, they're being how they're being. But they're also very respectful too. People seem to be really jazzed about it. So yeah, her whole new look at the biker jack, but they also have her classic look, and she looks great. So yeah, I'm very excited for those games. I think I might check them out myself, since I am a Fatal Fury fan, at least of the animes, of the trilogy, which we recently did for Edgy's birthday. Watch those for our watch parties. So yeah, I'll give it a look. But yeah, chat, that was a very long conversation for the Acolyte. I know we can keep talking about it and things. Believe me, I have probably more I can say, just Star Wars in general. But I think that's a good section right there. That's a thick, girthy, well-endowed section of today's stream. But we are now... And by the way, check out Edge Berserker's content platforms, chat. Give her some support. You can bet your buns, your booty butt buns, that Edgy Berserker is... And if you're a Fatal Fury fan, she will most definitely be playing those games when they come out, when they arrive. So you want to check out a fantastic streamer who plays a lot of fighting games. Edgy's your person. Edgy's your streamer to do so. Good shit. Good shit.